Hey everybody, welcome back to YAFTV. It is Friday, September 29th, 2025, TGIF. Welcome back to YAFTV. So glad to be back with you here on the channel. Jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. And so we're going to jump in here with the news, but I want to start out, of course, by saying thank you to everyone supporting the channel and to let everybody know that the fundraiser has ended, officially over. And I want to thank everybody who participated. Thank you so much to everyone who's supporting YAFTV. You make it happen. And I'm so thankful, and you can still continue to support the channel. That would be greatly appreciated. But I so appreciate the little bump that happened here in the last couple of weeks here with this fundraiser. And thank you to everyone involved. We've got so many, let's put on the glasses, of recent: Jay, Lana, Vicky and Mike, Ice Princess Kitty, Laura, Heather, Barbara. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel. And so, yeah, it's over. So just know that. And we'll go on from there, and I'll jump in and I'll plug my sponsor here, c60evo.com/YAFTV at the end of the video. I hope you watched the great interview I did with Chris Burrs the other day, the scientist at C60evo. He's fantastic, just top of the game in the fullerene world. And check it out, because it really was a great video. So glad to be back with you. We have so much going on, and yeah, thank God it's Friday, right? And thank God I'm free. So we've got so much happening, and we're going to get into the Comey indictment and upcoming indictments. We're going to talk about all of it. Let's start with, and we're going to talk into what is Hegseth doing with this massive call for 800 to 1,100 top military officers, generals, colonels, everybody being called to Quantico for a meeting in a skiff, right? It can only be said in person and with nobody else listening. So that's huge. We're going to dig into that here. And so let's start with today. Of course, Trump was kind of critical in saving the Ryder Cup, and he got to go there today with his granddaughter. And granddaughter Kai, I believe she's on the golf team at the University of Miami, and I'm sure he's loving that. And so he goes for the Ryder Cup. He has an enormous, huge, incredible, applause and welcome, and just everybody, really, really vocally loving having Trump there at the Ryder Cup. I'm glad he's getting a little time to do that. And basically, this is at Bethpage Black, this public course where people camp out in the middle of the night to go and get the opportunity to get on the tee time early. And it's great in New York there to have this happening. And one thing that's very interesting that we saw here at this Ryder Cup today is that you see on day one, you see with Trump there, the Secret Service behaving in a very different way. So what we saw with the Secret Service today is snipers with open rifles on tripods right in the crowd. You get Secret Service dressed as in civilian gear with some combat gear. A very different look than the suited up Secret Service. So there was multiple kinds there, but it was very interesting to see this change up, increase in visual security, I think, to also give everybody the sense of security, but also for there to be better security. And of course, the Secret Service. So very interesting, and I'd say good to see a different Secret Service. This is all going on, of course, as the ongoing situation of the Charlie Kirk assassination, sacrifice situation, okay, as whatever's about to pop off in the world, there seems to be something big a-brewing. And of course, all the breaking down of his murder continues to happen. We'll touch on that in this video as well. And so I wanted to let you know about the massive sea change in the Ryder Cup there today with the visuals on the Secret Service. Very interesting. And of course, we had Netanyahu as well today doing his speech before the before the United Nations, and nothing earth-shattering there. You had the walkouts, the anticipated walkouts of Iran and other countries leaving while he spoke, and he brought his visual aids as he always does with the curse. The curse was on the visual aids of it being Iraq, Iran, Syria across his visual aids, and he did these black check marks where he said, we killed him in Lebanon, we killed him in Yemen, we killed him in Syria, we killed him, all over the place, and we will kill whoever we need to kill. And defending his right to go further into Gaza, to continue to annex Gaza, even though Trump said, I will not allow Netanyahu to annex Gaza. And that all just seems like a larger economic deal, as far as I can tell, at this time. And so there we are with this situation of Netanyahu just basically saying, nobody else would allow there to be this incursion of all of these forces right up on your grill and your border trying to kill you, while, of course, they're incurring the incursions right up on Russia's border and everything to do Ukraine. And we have to wonder, with this meetup of 8 to 1,100 of the top military leaders coming to meet with Hegseth, coming up in early October, basically next week, that there's going to be some massive situation here being talked about. And so we're gonna dig into that. But I want to mention a few things. Of course, Trump did sign the executive order to do with hunting down the money of the of everybody funding the radical left violence. And he basically did call out Reid Hoffman, and he called out Soros, and he called out other names. And so that's good, and great to see that we're going to get these people's money hunted down. It's very, very important, but we'll just keep watching where it goes. And so let's get into James Comey here. Okay, so we get the Comey indictment. We know that Brennan and Clapper are, next in the lineup here. Possibly we'll see some Susan Rice. But what we're looking at, of course, is something, I've been talking about it since I think it was May, when Comey did the 8647 sand sign with the shells and everything, right? And I said at the time, I did like a 30-second video. I said, I think James Comey is flipping here. I think, this is a psyop where he's basically just putting this out there to get rolled up by the Secret Service in order to do what he's going to do. And of course, James Comey is a stone cold, like, intelligence assassin. He literally, entertainment purpose only, remember, before he was head of the FBI, all of it, he was in charge of the HSBC banking, money laundering stuff. There was so much going on here with Comey before he got in the driver's seat to create the Russian collusion narrative that led to the impeachment, all of it with Trump. And so as he puts out these Taylor Swift videos and everything else, back then I said, I think that he's making a move here to basically flip up. And what do we get the next week after that is when we get Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and others saying, hey, amazingly, we just found here in these storage closets and things, these burn bags with all of this FBI material that has everything to do with Crossfire Hurricane and everything to do with all of this classified information to do with Comey, to do with everything to do with his FBI, McCabe, Susan Rice, all of them. It goes down the whole, 9 yards, Nellie Orr, everybody. And then it went from there to, and you can look at it right now, and I'll link it below, where Tulsi Gabbard has put out all of their declassified material on Comey, Clapper, Brennan, etc., on the Office of ODNI website. It's all there, okay? And so when people go on the mainstream media and they say, oh, this can't really be a case against against Comey, you'll never be able to prove it. And of course, you get Halligan put in there as quickly as possible, Lindsay Halligan, when they got rid of, I guess, Siebert, his name's Siebert, Eric Siebert, who was his father-in-law as James Comey's daughter's godfather, this kind of stuff going on. And James Comey's son-in-law is still in the DOJ. And I think that's something that hasn't been tackled yet, but he was a J6 prosecutor. We'll get into that here in a moment. He was a J6 prosecutor prosecuting the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, etc. And so he's still in the DOJ. Okay, James Comey's son-in-law. His name, I'll just do it now, Troy Edwards. He prosecuted cases in the J6, and we have, of course, coming out today as well, the FBI. It coming out, of course, Chris Wray lied, and we've been like, Comey, that's great. What about after that? Chris Wray lying, and the lying treasonous J6 committee, right? And Chris Wray saying, there was no feds in the Fed's direction. I don't know in the J6 situation. I don't know about that. I can't answer those questions. And he absolutely did know, and it comes out there's at least 274 FBI agents or assets in the direct right at the Capitol, everything that went down. And so that's all coming out. But James Comey's son-in-law, Troy Edwards, is something that has to be dealt with. Hopefully Laura Loomer can jump on this and take down Troy Edwards because he is still there, the son-in-law. Right, and he prosecuted J6ers, especially from the Oath Keepers, Stewart Rhodes, etc., who suffered long and hard in there in prison. And so he's still in there, a little mole in the DOJ. And of course, you have this internal revolt of career prosecutors as they take out Eric Siebert and put in Lindsay Halligan to rush this Comey prosecution through, to rush the indictments, because Siebert was slowing it down, trying to get to the statute of limitations ending at the end of the month on September 30th. And Halligan comes in, and Virginia U.S. Attorney. And this is what we're seeing, is that the U.S. attorneys is where these troubles are heading, are being, where we're seeing the stopping of the prosecutions of the weaponization of government in the Department of Justice under Biden and before. Okay, that this weaponization of justice task force of Ed Martin being stalled. Well, they have multiple grand juries, and so you had Todd Blanche, who is the assistant DOJ to Pam Bondi, and I've been, I'm skeptical of both. But he did come out and say, people are saying that we can't, that this has no value, that we can't prosecute Comey. And of course, the conspiracy aspect is what's getting built here. And even Rudy Giuliani came out earlier today and said similar things, that yes, this might look like a one-page indictment, and people say, oh, it's a nothing burger. It's just a couple charges on perjury and obstruction of Congress. But those will get you some years in jail. And let's say maybe it's only that because, right? As I said before, I believe that Comey has been flipping up, and we'll see what goes down. But anyway, so Todd Blanche came out and said, look, we had a grand jury. Okay, we assembled a grand jury. They came together. They are the ones who decided that there absolutely is evidence here for indictments. And that's where it came. He said the grand jury has decided that Comey is standing accused. That's where it's at. That's them. The media can say this or that all they want, but this is a grand jury deciding this. And so I like that clarification because it makes tons of sense. And it also leads us, it just presents that case against the media just saying there's nothing there, etc. Because this is going to be a conspiracy case as it rolls forward into Brennan, into Clapper, and in deeper into Obama's administration, the Clintons, etc. Everybody responsible here with the Russia collusion. hell, okay, that they put us all through and wasted all our money and then ramped it up to J6 and the suffering and deaths of so many people. And so we'll keep following that as it goes. We'll have some more probably to say about that, or maybe we'll get into Eric Siebert a little bit more. One thing to remember is that with Siebert gone, you still have underneath him, who was his assistant U.S. Attorney Maya Song is still there, I believe, and she was an assistant to Lisa Monaco, who Trump's always calling out, Lisa Monaco, Lisa Monaco. Yeah, Merrick Garland's, sort of attack dog, super involved in everything with the corruption massively, and I hope it's going to reach Lisa Monaco. I hope these indictments and these prosecutions will reach her. But basically, this Maya Song person is still lingering. So her and Troy Edwards need to get attention put on them ASAP. So feel free to call your Congress people, 202-225-3121, even though we got a government shutdown looming as we approach the 30th. No side seems to be budging. We have this clean CR, right, by the Republicans. Democrats demanding their money, but something's going on here. There's not a little wiggle room happening. And so there's this kind of planned sort of shutdown as people are gone for the weekend, supposedly not calling anybody back tomorrow. It's getting pretty tight with this government shutdown situation, but feel free to call them anyway. And just do it. 202-225-3121 for your house, and 2777 for Mike Johnson. And so let's jump in here to a little bit about what might be happening with this this situation of Hegseth calling to an immediate meeting, very pretty quickly organized, for early October, and what this means and why. And the speculation is kind of rampant around it. And I'm not claiming to have the answer, but this isn't something you do simply. These are people coming from all across the world. Okay. And we have about, I think it's 40 4-star generals. And we have, all of their minions. It's just a super top heavy, okay, military, where you have these massive amounts of star generals and colonels and all of this with a fairly small military. I think the military is 1.2 million or something. And so this is all happening, and you're having this huge situation of them being called to Quantico by Hegseth. And this couldn't be for just, we don't want any more woke people in the military kind of meetup. And so we have to wonder what is this about, right? Because all signs are looking, there's a lot of, dire things going on. And so what is this about, right? Is it just like, is it a purge? Is it, are they going to have to retake their oaths? Will the government be shut down and Hegseth can, basically purge a bunch of people during that time? Will they, have lie detector tests? It's in a skiff, right? They're going to come and make it so nobody else can listen. And, you get Colonel McGregor kind of leaning towards the purge side. Retired Colonel McGregor, he often does great commentary. But I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of something dire is about to happen, right? Because it's one thing to instruct people. It's another thing to have them all come back from all across the world from these important posts and get together as one in a skiff, right? And, I've been talking about 3IAtlas. That's a concern. And I was going to do kind of a longer video on it this week, but I'm waiting kind of till it goes by Mars, right? That's like October 3rd, but we're already hearing that it seems like it's already gaining speed and mass, and that it's behaving like no other comet. It's being called an interstellar object. and that it is, in our solar system, we've never seen anything like it. And nothing has really come close. They say, oh, maybe Hale-Bopp's a little bit close. Doesn't behave like a comet, doesn't act like a comet, seems to be having some sort of emissions that are regular gaseous emissions that seem to be on a timely interval that could lean towards propulsion. Its trajectory, its orbital trajectory keeps shifting, and it also seems to be increasing speed, which was 60 kilometers per second, and it also has about a 60 kilometer length, or it's huge, it's massive, and glowing green, even though it doesn't seem to have the makeup of any of the gases that would make it green. And then there seems to be something with the seas connected here, and the Navy, and some sort of pulsing communication that they think might be happening directly to do with something with the oceans. And so we wonder, right, is there something large happening here with the 3IAtlas that we don't know about, where of course it's going to be streaming closest to Earth, I believe on the 23rd of October. Okay, so it's coming up in a few weeks, this whole 3IAtlas situation. And because it's never been seen before, or that it defies any classification like any other object, and is massive, okay, and seems to be doing some kind of communication and also emitting some kind of gaseous propulsion system, that perhaps that could be a reason, right? And so I just want to put that out there, and I will kind of delve more into particulars. I don't want to, just talk to everybody about the science about it, the physics and the science. It's not, it's not my avenue, and I've watched a lot of it, but it doesn't seem to inform us of much. But as we get closer to whatever they can find out from Mars, and if we ever get any accurate, real information on that, then I'm going to relay it next week. But this seems like that could warrant, if the way it could warrant a massive, I think if we start hearing that other countries are also calling their militaries back to their countries and having similar meetings, then we might get a clearer sign on if this is connected. And then, of course, is it to do with imminent war, right? I talked about last week the situation with Transnistria. This we've had these drones in Denmark. Oh, Russian drones here. NORAD, General Gio sending, NORAD squirreling planes out to Alaska, where Russia just does its normal thing of its planes flying outside of Alaska, which is like 6 miles, right, from Russia. That this Transnistria issue, right, and how Lavrov has come out and said, hey, basically NATO and Europe are saying they're at war with us. I mean, I'm just saying, right? And Trump with his ridiculous statements about, oh, Ukraine could win the war, and that's nothing. Okay, that isn't a thing. What it is Trump basically putting out talking points to please the EU and NATO. Okay, and why is the question, right? And because he's in charge of basically NATO, because he's not the Secretary General of NATO, but he is the leader of the largest contingent of NATO, which is the USA. And so very strange, right? So Transnistria, this part of Romania that is on the Ukraine border, that is very pro-Russia, and Romania had its election stolen, right? And we saw that happen with Simeon. They thought he would win because he was, everybody was behind him, but they stole the election, and Romania is being used here in this NATO intelligence-controlled situation. And Europe wants war. They're ginning for war. They're just, war. They have no money, they have no weapons, but they need war so badly. And of course, Netanyahu, in his kind of lukewarm, tepid speech today at the UN, Iran. Iran is the big problem out there, and we must stop Iran. And so it's is this about that there's going to be some massive incursion here in Romania? And all these drones are moot. Russia doesn't need drones to go look at anything. They have massive satellite communications. They have massive satellite vision on everything, as does the U.S. Okay, and so there's no reason for their drones to be going anywhere like over Denmark or over wherever. This is all misdirection and baloney, and certainly isn't a cause for, all of the 800 to 1100 senior officers of the military to return to the United States for some very important meeting. So what is it, right? Is there going to be some massive war situation or some off-planet, catastrophe? Because this is, it has to be something. It has to be something large. This is not something that can be explained any other way. You don't do this, okay? You don't change the Department of Defense to the Department of War and then call all your 800 to 1100 senior military officers to a classified area to speak in person unless something huge is going on. And so I think that's well worth covering and very important to discuss, because it can't be, this wag the dog style stuff of drones over Denmark. Okay, that's just a complete baloney. And so I wanted to just, kind of put out there that, the kind of things we're looking at are, of course, big tentacles and antennas up here for FFs, right, in the United States, that something big could be coming here to ignite a war with Iran, to ignite a war somewhere else. Iran seems to be the big deal, right? After we've been, shifting, you've been seeing under Hegseth and under Trump, the huge shift away, right, from trying to shift away from the Middle East, the focus on NATO, Ukraine. Trump's like, here you go, NATO, go do your thing, and focus on Asia, focus on China, focus on the real threats here with hemispheric defense. And I don't believe that Trump, with Putin and his meeting in Alaska or since, that any of him, calling Russia a paper tiger is real at all. Okay, you had the Kremlin come back and say, Russia's not a tiger, it's a bear, and there's no such thing as a paper bear. These are it's just baloney words, right? I do believe that Trump and Putin behind the scenes do have direct contact and direct ideas of what's going on and what's about to go down. And I think that we're the ones that don't know what that is. And we very much want to know, because it involves, of course, all of us. And on whatever level, 2 weeks ago, 16 days now, we have, of course, the murder of Charlie Kirk, and that being massively significant for his own life and for his family and his children, which is just a disgusting tragedy, and for the massive drama that it created within the United States and across the world, the feelings of hopelessness, and then the sort of redirection here that's going on with TPUSA. You see so many people still, nobody believes the narrative of the FBI, and the feeling of being lied to is a very unsettling and disgusting feeling. Well, it's just disgusting, okay? And whether you're feeling it or not, it's just disgusting. And, the videos keep coming out. You get a Valhalla guy, showing how a 3-06 rifle blows through the rounds from that blow through a half-inch steel plate, right? And we're hearing now, oh, there was an autopsy. Was it after J.D. Vance took him on the plane to Arizona? If he was already dead when he got to the hospital, why is there, the surgeon in charge signing off? about all the stuff about it. The bullet hit his spine and went down of 6 vertebrae and hit his heart. I mean, it's just all so ridiculous, right? You get people like Candace Owens going in and talking to, the long timers at TPUSA who are coming out and saying, hey, guess what? Did you know that Charlie, like 1 week before he was murdered, or 8 days before he was murdered, I think on September 3rd or something, or 2nd, had basically put out a memo across TPUSA saying, hey, look, we're starting a sort of Doge type thing here to check out where all the money's going and just kind of look at what's up with how things are being spent. People coming out and saying, he was really concerned about not only where the money was going, but it seemed like it was going out hand over fist with contracts and double dealings with commissions and just kind of weirdness, but also that it was coming in from places that couldn't be clearly defined, and wanting a sort of Doge look here at what was going on at TPUSA. And so with the just putting everybody on trauma mode, right, with his murder, you have the youth of the country. Yes, it ignites this huge major surge of people wanting to go TPUSA, but without Charlie there isn't the guidance, okay, of where this goes, and it becomes a huge, massive, massive movement and tool to be guided by whoever can guide it, right? And we've seen definitely the Israel and Zionist pushed in guiding. Okay, and then we've seen, people stepping in, people trying to pick up this and that. But with whatever could be coming, these things can't be disconnected. Okay, that there's this murder of one of the most important people to the youth in America on the not just the conservative right, but the populist movement in general. Really excited to talk, okay, about ideas and issues again, and to have there be a critical thinking movement, and to then throw everybody into disarray right before, okay, this huge thing that's about to happen, whatever it's going to be, with the Hegseth military meetup, okay, and it's huge what's going on with Comey, even though it seems tiny. These 2 charges of indictment, we're waiting forever, but yay, fantastic. Brennan Clapper right here coming up soon, and there could be a lot to do with that. Hey, we're going to be doing massive interviews, okay, across the board of different people's involvement in roles in so many things that have been deep state guided and run throughout the U.S. military for so long. That would be amazing if that's what it was. That seems a little, far out there, considering we're only getting a couple little Comey indictments so far. but no, it seems like something bigger. It seems like something bigger to do with war, or some sort of threat, okay, that is facing the USA or facing the world, perhaps. And so that's major, okay. And so I think from there, I'm not going to do a very long video today. I wanted to just really cover those things, and pretty much invoke prayer. Just as you always say, the people who view this channel say to me that you pray for me, I also pray for you. I want you to know that. I pray for all the supporters of the channel consistently every day, and humanity, and I pray really for God's intervention in stopping the satanic forces of whatever this is that's coming, because obviously something large is coming, and we know we're under a massive economic threat. We're under a massive just restructuring of the world's economy. And as we watch this, it's getting tighter and tighter, and people's pocketbooks aren't really picking up yet, right? Even though there's a lot of great things going on. And so I think I'll shift here just towards the end to talk about the FBI, And, this gets down to Chris Wray. May he be one of the next to be indicted soon and have a grand jury about him and his role. But basically, when he lied to Congress, as he did, saying that he knew nothing about there being federal agents in the field at J6, it's now come out very clear that at least 274 were um, in the crowd outside the Capitol on January 6th of 2021, and that this was a secret deployment. And justthenews.com, of course, John Solomon putting this out so clearly, I will link it below, that there was a secret deployment of FBI into, the whole thing was planned, right? We know it was a Fedsurrection, but it coming out is so important. And yes, it's all 5 years later, and 4 years later, this is how it works. And you want to support the people doing the work. You really want to, let them know, give Gabbard a thumbs up, give Gabbard a, big atta girl, and everyone involved here, because this is how we get it done. This is how we get them. And so, I think this is incredible, right? This is 4 years ago, Chris Wray lying to Congress, just as Comey did 4 years ago as well. And so it's very exciting to see, and we will keep watching it. We look at on the other side, or just the ridiculousness of the stupidity and the non-intellectual nature, or just cognitive thinking ability of so many of the Congress members on the left, and people like Jasmine Crockett calling ICE agents slave catchers. That they reminded her of slave catchers because they're wearing their masks and protecting their identity, and she says, I know my history and all of this, and it's just so crazy. Jasmine Crockett out of Texas, right? And so much seems to be happening in Texas. Completely massive fight in Texas that's being totally taken. It's just so corrupt. And what Jasmine Crockett doesn't know, of course, is that actually it was the slaves who were made to wear masks. Okay, they were forced to wear masks so that they couldn't communicate with each other, as well as muzzles and other disgusting and awful things. And her good friend Ilhan Omar, as family, knows this well, right? Because they were brought out under dark of night from Somalia, where they were totally guilty of committing Ethiopian genocide and being massive slave family, right? Ask Ursula von der Leyen, okay, EU commissioner, whose family way back when, her mother's side in South Carolina on her English side, was one of the largest slave family owners in South Carolina, the largest plantations there. That's Ursula von der Leyen's heritage. Ask Kamala Harris, right, and her dad's side in Jamaica and their slave owning family heritage. And that's what's just so disgusting about these people and their lies. And so we don't like lies on our side either, and we don't like an FBI telling us that Charlie Kirk was killed by a 3-06 bullet that blows away a moose. None of it looks right. We've seen the handoff videos going viral of the little device in the man's hand. All of it, is it a pager? Is it not a pager, but is it a small detonation device? We don't know. We just know that Charlie Kirk was murdered, and they're lying to us, and it's making us all really angry, because we don't want anybody assassinated with no explanation. And how they thought they would just get this over with, and who they are, who did it, is everything that we need to know, and we need to know it. And so I applaud everybody who is doing the deep work, doing the big fight here. And so is this going to be an Israel-Iran war pop-off situation? Is this going to be something happens to Israel, right? We have the flotilla growing right out there, the Peace for Gaza flotilla. We've got Spain involved, North Korea saying they could nuke Israel. Um, just it's getting more and more tight here as Erdogan met with Trump. Of course, after the UN in their UN meetups there, and Erdogan comes to the White House. Turkey is the only NATO military outside of the US, possibly, who could do any fighting as a NATO force. Okay, we know this. And Trump did this pretty incredible thing where he said, oh, we could break this news here at the White House and just let the world know that it was you, Erdogan, who is responsible for the toppling of the Assad regime in Syria. And it was your forces that went in and put Jalani in power, the ex-Al Qaeda turned statesman who just happens to go be able to talk at the UN. And we get Mike Waltz as our new UN ambassador, even though they stalled out him being even confirmed as ambassador to the UN after he was ousted out of national out of being the national security advisor. That it's you, Erdogan. You're the one who toppled Syria. Let's just let everybody know that and installed Jalani. That was pretty intense that Trump said that. And they have a very, very large military, and they have enormous amounts of weapons and ammo. And of course, Trump comes in wearing that new F whatever it is class fighter pin on his lapel, and he's going to be selling Erdogan. I don't know, what is Erdogan wanting now? F-35s. And of course, they all want Patriot missile defense systems, right? But the U.S. has none because they're not built, and they've all been given to Ukraine and Israel. So, whatever's going down, we don't have the systems yet either. And Trump always says, "Well, but we have all these super classified systems you wouldn't believe," and I believe that's true, right? I believe that's true. So something's going to go down. And I pray for humanity. I pray for all of us that we are, and just, on Erdogan, that was completely with Mossad Israel and the thing with the app on the phone and all of that. I talked about in my last video before last. So, yeah, we have to, sorry. Yeah. Distracted for a second. So yeah, we have to pray about what's coming up here. Huge prayer. We know that prayer makes a difference. God makes the difference, but God wants to know that we give a holy about this, right? That we really want peace in the world, and we want our leadership to be able to bring it, and we want intervention against any mass catastrophe. And all we need to know is that we have Jesus, and we have Jesus, running our lives and giving us what we need every day. Because what happens as we move on to the great eternal life is going to be the next exciting thing. It's going to be the next incredible life after this. But right now, I really care about humanity. And I believe in praying at times like this for some massive crisis that obviously is happening. And it's unprecedented having this kind of military meetup in the United States in a skiff of the top brass of that number, okay, called back very, very quickly. And so let's pray for God's intervention and God's protection for the United States and for the world. For the Western civilization, and that leadership have very, very good discernment and be guided by the Holy Spirit and God in all of these actions upcoming, that the evildoers be taken from power, and that we are all, putting on our full armor of God and being our best at this time. So I'm going to leave it there for tonight, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you very much, and I'm just so glad to every time I can come up and do a video and tell you what I think and what I found out. And next week is going to be a major week, and I'm shaking my C60 Evo capsules. Again, thank you so much for your participation in the fundraiser. That is over. But my incredible sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Get your mitochondria cleaned up, right? Get your cells cleaned up, fight inflammaging, fight those massive inflammatory responses that are connected to every single chronic disease that has to do with, just aging badly, okay, where we get sick as we get older. And also for all the crud that's in your cells or in, especially your brain cells, your neurons, crossing the blood-brain barrier, getting in there, cleaning the garbage out. It teams up with your other hormones, with your glutathione, your melatonin, flushes the garbage out of your body in an incredible way. And it keeps working. It actually reorients itself and keeps, hanging out in your body for days and days, doing the work of flushing out your cells. People, incredible testimonials about the big C, about MS, about autism, about migraines, about soreness, about focus, incredible energy, just the best. And for pets as well, there's great products for everybody. And if you check out c60evo.com/YAFTV, you'll see all the products available. Code is YAFTV for 10% off. And anybody who's ever donated or contributes to the channel, you get a different email with a different code sent to you for 15% off. And yeah, check it out. Seriously, the best lab for fullerenes carbon-60 production in the world. They call it the ESS60 molecule because it is so pure, 99.99% pure of any solvents that go in production of all carbon-60. So check it out. You are free, and I will see you next time. I'm so glad to be back with you. And I just hope you have a great weekend and you take some time away that's really about prayer, really about people, really about nature, really about family, as well as doing great work that isn't about digital work, okay? Using your hands, using your brains, using your eyes and your senses, using your heart, and being fully present in life. That's more important now than ever, that our presence in our real lives, not in digital lives, not in digital reality, is what's so, so vital right now. So that's my prayer for all of you. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. You are free, and I will see you on Monday, unless, I see you before then. I hope not. I hope that we have a peaceful weekend. You are free.